Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Aaron, be sure before we start the show, make sure we run the retirement spot in segment 3, please.
Yes, sir. You got it. Whenever you're ready, we can start.
I don't know if this has ever happened, Aaron.
What's that?
We've got the script. I've talked about this subject 100 times. I'm having trouble coming up with a good intro.
Oh, I mean, Tony, come on. Hey, I've listened to you for 8 years now. I mean, I've seen today's show topic a couple of times. You mind if I take a crack at it?
Actually, I would appreciate that. Let her rip.
All right. Hey folks, America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Orender here, and today, Tony's going to be sharing with you his breakthrough concept of the 3 personalities of money and why you need to better understand your financial personality before ever investing a single dollar of your retirement. So stay tuned. How's that, Tony?
Man, that guy's good.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and 4-time author, Tony Walker.
There's a story of a well-known speaker who one day became ill and unable to deliver that night's speech to a large expected crowd of over 500 attendees. Upon mentioning this dilemma to his chauffeur quickly responded, "Heck, I've heard that speech 100 times. I could give it for you." To which the speaker quickly said, "Well, let's do it." So the two switched clothing. The chauffeur changed into the man's best suit, while the speaker put on the clothes of the chauffeur. After the chauffeur delivered a wonderful speech to the audience, he did something the speaker had never done before. He asked the audience if there were any questions. Well, quickly a man in the front row stood up and asked the chauffeur a question, to which the chauffeur responded, "Sir, with all due respect, that's really a stupid question. In fact, it's so stupid, I'm going to have my chauffeur in the back of the room answer it for you." Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And while America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Orender, is really good at making introductions about financial concepts, he's probably not the best prospect for answering questions about them, which is why today I will cover in great detail the most important thing one should know about themselves before ever investing money, and that is your financial personality. You see, after working in the financial trenches, I began to notice savers investing way too much of their money in things they did not understand, and worse yet, contained way too much risk. Graduating in 1983 from Western Kentucky University and armed with a degree in psychology, some 15 years ago, I decided to return to my old alma mater to seek the help of 2 psychology professors to assist me in creating a way to accurately measure and determine one's financial personality. And it came down to 3 personalities in my view. Either someone was predominantly a saver, an investor, or that rare breed we call the speculator. And I call this process the 3 personalities of money. And today, I'm going to show you how this simple 5-minute quiz that we created together can help you better understand your financial personality and, more importantly, which products are right for you. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back.
Now remember, folks, when you roll over your 401k with us, you get a 15% bonus. How's that sound?
That sounds too good to be true.
Come on, don't you trust me?
What are your fees?
That is a great question, and we'll get to that after we roll over the 401k.
I think we need to get a second opinion.
Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here along with America's favorite financial sidekick. Turns out to be one of the best introduction experts I've ever listened to. So good morning to you officially, Aaron.
Oh, stop. You're too kind, sir.
Oh, stop it.
Just stop. I mean, go on. I mean, stop. I mean, go on. No, I'm just kidding. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well on this May 3rd, 2022 in our Louisville studios. And we're happy you joined us, and you are listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. And today I really am excited. I know I've covered the three personalities of money before, but now as we watch, again, as of the date of this recording, watch the stock market and even the bond market. I've never seen both of these plummet like this. This is a real dilemma for financial advisors like myself, because usually, in most cases, stocks and bonds work in opposite tandem. In other words, when the stock market tends to go up, bonds tend to go down a little bit, and when the stock market goes down, bonds tend to go up. Unfortunately, because of a lot of economic factors, there's a ton of them out there. I mean, more different factors than I've ever seen, and I think that's why so many registered investment and financial advisors and fiduciaries such as myself we're kind of in a quandary right now as to what to recommend. We do have some solutions, so stay tuned. So if you're that person that's watching your 401k balance go down south and you're wondering what in the heck is up with bonds and why they're going down south too, we've got some good news coming up. But it starts, I think, first of all, with not out here trying to hunt and peck for the latest, greatest, possibly too good to be true product or products that are really not suited with you and for you. It begins, first of all, with understanding who you are and how God has wired you for money. And if you've listened to this radio show enough, you'll know that we always say the only show in the country helping savers worry less about money. So who's a saver? Well, I created this 3 personalities of money quiz, and basically this quiz is designed to help consumers determine what I call their predominant financial personality. And a saver is somebody who would be like my granddad, someone who is very risk averse, maybe take a little bit of risk, but very risk averse, someone who likes predictability. And actually, this is what I was going to ask you, Aaron. I think this is pretty odd with savers. Savers, I found, really don't like to overanalyze things, and thus would rather have fewer choices that they know they would want versus a multitude of choices. Would you say, Aaron, that fits your personality just a little bit? Or maybe ask it this way. Is there something in your life or your world that you constantly encounter that you'd say, this is almost too many choices to choose from?
You know, when you were talking about that, when we started this show, one of the first things I thought about was just all the television there is out there to watch now. You know, I think back to, hearing my mom and dad talk about the series finale of the show MASH. Did you ever watch MASH?
Oh, I love MASH.
Yeah, well, when that aired, I don't know, however many years ago, I mean, that was pretty much all there was on TV that day. I mean, everybody sat down that night and watched the series finale of MASH. So I think about that. And now I think about today. I mean, my gosh, if you have cable, there's 600 plus channels, and that's not even talking about the streaming services. You get into Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all that stuff, and it's like, I was listening to a pretty famous podcaster the other day, and he was kind of talking about this, and he was like, it is absolutely impossible to just watch everything there is now. Yeah. So, you have people that are like, well, did you see the latest episode of NCIS? And I think, well, which one? There's 5 different NCIS shows on. There's NCIS Miami and Las Vegas and everything else. There's too many choices for television.
And that is really a good example there. And then I hearken back, you were mentioning about MASH. I grew up and spent a lot of time with my granddad, who I know I've talked about on this show, who in 1978 retired after 43 years with Bell South with his simple little pension, with his simple little house in Troy, Kentucky, and his simple little one TV, Aaron. One TV in the house with an antenna on top of the roof, 3 channels.
Did it even have a remote? That was going to be my question.
Oh, no.
Didn't even have a remote, did it?
No. And you're right, though. I'll tell you funny, I don't know what you said, MASH. I'll tell you the thing that I remember. I think this was in the late 70s, early 80s. The show, I can't remember the name of the show. Somebody could probably help me on this, but it was all about the Ewing families and who shot JR. What was that show?
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Was it Dynasty? Anyway, what was so funny, I remember I was up at UK at the time, attending University of Kentucky the first couple of years I was in college, and I had to go run an errand, and I really didn't care who shot JR. It was like a ghost town. There wasn't anybody on the road.
Nobody was out. Everybody was glued to their TVs.
So it is kind of funny. So, well, let me get to the point. I'm sorry here. We're really digressing. But the point is, folks, if you are a saver, and I'm going to talk about the 3 personalities of money and the pop quiz you can take, which is only 5 minutes long, absolutely free. I've spent thousands of dollars to create this tool to help consumers understand their financial personality. But if you're a saver, which Will Rogers would define that as somebody who is more concerned about the return of your money than the return on it, as opposed to an investor or speculator, what I've found with savers, just like my granddad, and I'm like this too, Aaron, if you can show me what I know I want, now that's the caveat. It's got to be stuff that I know what I want. I'm pretty sure about what I want in life. Give me a couple of choices. I don't need 400 choices. Give me a couple of choices, and I guarantee you I can pick what I want, and I'll be very, very content with what I pick. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if you think cable TV and streaming has too many choices, just step into the financial world. I mean, folks, the financial world, I've been doing this 38 years. In June, it'll be 38 years. And what happens is many people think because I've been in it this long that I know everything there is to know about the financial world. And I could probably put in a thimble the amount of information I know about everything in the financial world. It's a huge world, bigger than the internet, bigger than cable. I mean, there are so many different ways to skin a cat, so many different products, so many different strategies. And this is why years ago, especially right after 9/11, when the market was tanking for 3 years in a row, I decided to just focus on what I call the personality of a saver. And Aaron, it has liberated me. It has allowed me to be more focused in my practice. It has allowed my practice to grow to leaps and bounds I never could have imagined. You know, right now, besides myself, we have 3 full-time salaried fiduciaries. Besides them, I have another 10 full-time employees, getting ready to hire another one. We have the production department, Worry Free Productions, with you and Derek and Mary Beth. And first of all, I'm so grateful. Don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful. But I'm telling you folks, much of the success we've experienced at Tony Walker Financial is because we focused on savers. We know what savers want, and we can provide those specific options that savers love. Is this making sense, Aaron?
Absolutely.
So what is this 3 personalities? Why did I even come up with it? Well, actually, a lot of people don't realize this, Aaron. This kind of came about when I was reading probably the greatest investment book ever written. It was by Benjamin Graham, called The Intelligent Investor. You've probably heard of it. I read it years ago. But anyway, he was kind of the mentor to Warren Buffett. Benjamin Graham would be considered a value investor. So for instance, Aaron, Benjamin Graham would not invest in something that was high price. Like, you know, the high price of homes right now?
Yes.
He would say that's a terrible value. I would never do that. He would want to invest in things that maybe are down in value, but that he saw promise for going up in value, which really makes sense when you're investing. It's probably not best to buy things when they're real high. You try to buy them with them low, right? The price is low in hopes that they go higher. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's called a value investor. Well, Benjamin Graham noted something in his book. After World War II and after the Depression, they interviewed random Americans. Guess what percentage of the people back then, this was in the 40s, said that the stock market was a gamble? What percentage of the people would you say would say the stock market was a gamble? Remember, they had the Great Depression. People lost everything they had.
Well, that was the first thing that came to my mind. If this is the 40s, it wasn't too far away from the Depression. I would say the majority of people probably said it was a gamble. I'll say 70%.
Okay, you're exactly right. It's closer to 90%.
Wow.
Now, what's interesting, so to me, that would be a saver. A saver is somebody that immediately, not that they don't invest in the stock market. I have a little bit of money in the market, not a lot, and some of our clients have some money in the stock market. But a true saver is not going to take a lot of risk because it's too much of a gamble, especially, listen closely, especially if that saver is retired or retiring soon. That should make sense, right, Aaron?
Yes.
If you had your life savings in a 401k and you're a year away from retirement, do you think it would be smart to have it all 100% in the stock market?
No.
Be crazy. But sometimes people do that because it keeps going up. You know, you're afraid to get out and you're afraid you'll miss out. That's the old FOMO, fear of missing out. Then we're into times like these as we record this show on May 3rd, 2022, with the market in a free fall and bonds going down. Again, first time I've ever seen both of them go down this much at the same time. And again, we'll have a solution for this in a second. But my point is, a lot of you now are going, oh my gosh, is this the time to get out? Do I buy? Well, the point is, if you're a saver and you're retired or retiring soon, you shouldn't have that much money in the stock market to begin with. That's the whole problem. So again, the 3 personalities of money is a test. It's a 5-minute quiz you can take, and I'm going to explain a little bit about it. And by the way, after the show, you might want to write this website down because it's free, and we're not going to bug you. We're not going to ask for your email. This is just something we want to help the consumers think through. So if you want to take the test after the show, you would go to the number 3personalities.com, 3personalities.com. And again, you can take the test and find out what your predominant, again, it may not be exact, but where do you tend to lean? Are you more of a saver? Are you more of an investor? Or are you that rare breed, very rare breed, quite frankly, that we would call a speculator? So here's what we're going to do. I'll call up the website right now real quick, Aaron. Let me get on the 3 personalities website. I meant to call that up. There it is. Okay, so basically, it's a very simple website. You go right to take the test. You'll see that button there, folks. And there is a little acknowledgement that you realize that you have to kind of click on that and go to next. I've read let's keep going here, Aaron, real quick. And I'm just going to read a couple questions real quick. All right. So here's an example of the questions you'll be asked at 3personalities.com to determine your financial personality. All right. And I'll tell you what, Aaron, I'll just share one with you. Here's the first one. If given the choice between a high risk, high yield investment or a low risk, low yield investment, I would choose the latter. In other words, if it were you, Aaron, if you had the chance between risking a lot of money but maybe making money, or not taking a lot of risk knowing you're not going to make as much money, which would you choose?
Well,
or which would you agree more with? Would you tend to agree staying risky or less risky?
Most people my age, because I'm only 41. I mean, there's a lot of people that would think, well, I'll risk it and, I've got time to make it up. But that's not my personality. I know. I don't like to lose. I mean, honestly, anything. I don't like to lose anything. So I would probably lean more towards the low risk, low yield. So
you had a really good point. You said something that has been the mantra of Wall Street for years. See, Wall Street wants everybody to take risks. They think you should. And you hit the nail on the head. Even though you're younger, you hit the nail on the head, Aaron, you're wired for safety is really what you're saying, right? You don't like losing money.
Right.
And so a lot of you folks have been duped into this idea that because you're young, you should take a lot of risk. And I just don't agree with that. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but I'm just saying there was a good point by Aaron. Here's another question I'll read. I'm not going to read all these folks, but here's another one. Let's see, here's one. Here's a good one. If I had a windfall gain, let's say, Aaron, you got you probably don't do the lottery, but let's say you got a big bonus. You got an inheritance, okay? I would put that money back into a venture that I felt had an upside potential, or again, I would take that money and put it in a safer option. Which would you more likely do?
Again, my personality, I would probably put it in a safer option. You are my boss, and I hope you see me as a hard worker. But I like to think that I work pretty hard for my money. I put in a lot of work for my money. But even if it were an inheritance, even if it were something that I had not quote unquote worked for, I just don't like to take a lot of risk, no matter what age I am. I mean, I was the same way when I was 20. I just don't like to take a lot of risk. I don't want to just lose something and go, oh, well, I'll get it back. Well, maybe I won't.
Yeah, so it's really good stuff. So again, folks, if you want to, after the show, if you want to take this test, it's free. If you want to contact me afterwards, definitely if you're a saver, if you're an investor or speculator, that you won't be contacting us because we work only with savers, but we would encourage you to reach out to us. Again, it's the number 3personalities.com, absolutely free, takes about 5 minutes. You get the results immediately. There's no catch. We don't even have to have your email and all that stuff. We won't drive you crazy, but I would highly encourage you to take it. Now, here's a problem right now. Because there's so many choices, here's what I figured out about the financial world, Aaron. Unlike the stupid question earlier we had from the audience, the chauffeur who didn't know the answer to the question, this financial world is very, very sharp, very smart. And since they know, Aaron, that let's say you have a big 401k and you got all these different investment options, since you don't really know much about the stock market, but maybe you feel like you got to have some in it, They've come up with something called the Rule of 100. And actually, they've changed it to the Rule of 120. So when we return, we're going to show you why this rule is so flawed and why we at Tony Walker have a better plan for you savers out there to use, enjoy, and protect more of your money. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back. I'm Tony Walker. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Tony Walker here, retirement specialist and fiduciary, along with America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. And we're just talking about this idea of so many choices and the financial world realizing that. And instead of just throwing a bunch of choices at you, which they tend to do through the 401k, they try to make it simple for you and disguise all this confusion with something called the Rule of 100. Now, Aaron, you know I like to use that term. There's no such thing as one size fits all. This is their attempt to make everybody the same, okay? So they don't care whether you're a saver, investor, or speculator. They're going to assume that everybody needs to be in the market. It's all based on your age. So let me explain the Rule of 100. So what they mean by that. So you take 100, Aaron, minus your age. Now remember earlier, folks, if you're just now catching us, Aaron just said, I wouldn't take a lot of money of any money and put it at risk. But they're saying, Aaron, you're 40 years of age. So you need some stock market exposure, and since you don't know what you're doing, we'll help you with this one-size-fits-all formula. You ready, Aaron?
Okay.
Okay, you take 100 minus your age. We'll call it 40 so I can do the math real quick. So that means you're going to put 60% of your 401k, your life savings, in the stock market. How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry. Can I be blunt?
Yeah.
I think that sounds so stupid.
Are you stupid or something? Stupid is as stupid does, sir.
I think that
is.
sounds so dumb. I'm sorry, but, you know.
Do you realize this is what most of Wall Street pushes? It's crazy, isn't it? And the reason I think they can push that is because most people don't understand what to do with this money in the 401k, and it just sounds logical to them, I guess. I don't know. I'm like you. I can't imagine why a saver, again, we're talking about savers here, folks, that would put that much at risk. But that's okay. And then they say, well, of course, Mr. Orander, as you get older, you'll take less risk. So now we fast forward to age 60, right? So you take 100 minus 60. Even if you say, well, gosh, I'm almost at retirement, I don't want to take risk. Well, Mr. Orander, according to our formula, you still need 40% of your money at risk. It's crazy, isn't it? Now, it's so funny what's happening now because people are living longer, right? See, I would think I would want to take less risk as I got older for sure. And I'll explain a product in a minute that'll make sure that you don't run out of money no matter how long you live. But since now people are living longer, they've changed it, Aaron, from the Rule of 100 to the Rule of 120, meaning age 120. So that means, Aaron, under the new rules, this is Wall Street for you, you take 120 minus 40, your age. Now, Aaron Orander, since you're going to live longer, you need 80% of your money in the stock market. How's that sound? It's even getting better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. So, folks, what is the option then, Tony? You're saying, yeah, this I'm a saver, Tony. I know I am. Or maybe you're going to take the test, the 3 personalities of money test, and you're thinking, this is ludicrous. I'm not going to put that much money at risk. So what do we do, Tony? Well, versus Wall Street's 100, rule or Rule of 120 or whatever they call it now, what we do is we take a more practical approach once we know that you're a saver, and we start off by saying this. Here's my question, Aaron. Mr. Orander, let's say on average we only made you 2 or 3% on average, but for the most part we could protect the majority of your money. How's that sound so far?
I like the word protect.
Okay. And Mr. Orander, if you want to, this would be an option for you. Okay, there's a little extra fee for this, but we have an option that we can invest some of this money, not all of it, some of this money into a product, all right, that will guarantee, no matter what happens to the stock market, no matter what happens to bond values, no matter what the short-term interest rates do, will guarantee that you never run out of money. How's that sound?
Protect and guarantee, I like both of those words. Those are two words that I can get on board with.
Well, if you're like Mr. Aaron Orander here and you're riding down the road or listening to this radio show and you're thinking, man, that sounds pretty good. That doesn't exist in my 401k, Tony. How do we do this? Well, it's a concept I created called the split IRA concept. And what it involves is an ingenious way to, if you want to, use a little bit of your money to put in the stock market. And we would handle all the details for you. Folks, we've, since starting our Charles Schwab platform back in 2017, that's the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank products. That would be probably what you're used to in your 401k. Since starting that, we have over 2,000 accounts with Charles Schwab and assets under management approaching $190 million. So we know what we're doing in this area, folks. I know I'm known around the country for annuities, but I've been working in the securities world since 1986. I've seen all the major downturns. I'm well aware of what this market can do. And since we are retirement planning specialists, folks, we are not about to put a ton of your money at risk. We're just not going to do it. Now, actually, Aaron, I had a gentleman in yesterday. He's a rare bird. He admits he's a saver, but he really likes some investment risk. So if you were to see his overall portfolio, you would say, well, Tony, he's got quite a bit at risk. But now he chose to do that. But in general, most of my clients do not want a lot of risk. So what happens with this split IRA concept, we come up and help you determine how much money you want in something called annuities. Again, those are the only products that provide this guaranteed lifetime income like my granddad had called mailbox money. Here's the simplicity of this. I had a couple in yesterday, Aaron. They've been clients for years. They're both getting ready to turn 72. They're worried about their required minimum distributions. They've got quite a bit of IRAs with us. So their required minimum distribution this year for him is going to be around $40,000. You with me so far? He's got to take it out, got to pay taxes. I said, hey, Mr. Jones, we got these two annuities we've had percolating over here for years. If you wanted to, because we can show them the guaranteed amount, we could start sending you from those two annuities, leave your Schwab account alone. The amount of annual income for both he and his wife, total, Aaron, is $56,000 a year, guaranteed for life. It doesn't matter if one of them lives to 120. And he said, well, what happens when the account runs out of money? I said, well, as long as you're alive, it won't. Now, granted, when you die, there may not be anything left. We'll have to track that depending on how long you live. But I said, no, this is guaranteed. I mean, he couldn't believe it. I said, sir, you've had these products with me for over 10 years. This is how they work. He said, I guess I just forgot or maybe wasn't listening. So in that case, that's a good example of the split IRA. So we have the best of both worlds. If he still wants to take a little bit of risk, we can certainly leave it in the Charles Schwab platform. We charge a whopping 0.8%, about half of what most money managers charge. So we'll do all that internally at Tony Walker Financial. We pick the funds, we do the distributions, and then the other portion we can put in what we call fixed annuities. So here's the thing, folks. Let me invite you right now. This sounds really good to you. There's one thing you can do right away that's free. Besides taking the 3 Personalities of Money test, you can go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on the download section. Now, why do you want to do that? Because you're going to want to learn about these annuity products. You can download Annuities Made Easy. I wrote that book. And then Mailbox Money Made Easy, which is that guaranteed lifetime income. Or if the internet's not convenient, you can call us at 877-499-9255 and order those booklets, 877-499-9255. Better yet, if you're retired or retiring soon or over the age of 59 and a half and you just want to see how this split IRA concept works and try to minimize some of this risk, why don't you do this? Why don't you log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. You're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. We can set up what we call a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call where we can ask some basic questions and see if we can be of help to you in your situation. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Or if you just like to talk by phone and the internet's not your thing, just give us a call at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we've enjoyed being with you today with myself and America's favorite financial sidekick. Next week, speaking of putting things in control, that's going to be the theme and how our split IRA process, along with our proprietary software, will put you in more control of your money. But between now and next week, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.